So hi everyone, this is Beauty Talks with Bibi, and today I'm talking to Heather, and she is a model and a writer. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. This is
Yeah.
fantastic.
So you started modeling when you were how old?
Well, I was 18. I'm now 52. So it was right when I got out of high school. Before I entered college, I started modeling, but I continued going to college because I wanted my degree. I thought modeling was something that I was just going to do for a short while, and I wanted, my marketing degree, which I ended up getting from Ohio State, to fall back on. Modeling was just my side gig. I would tell my professors every quarter that I would, maybe have jobs and they would be cool with it as long as, I told them in the beginning of the quarter and I made up all the classwork and I would do my exams early. So they were always really supportive and it was fine to be able to model through college. Since most of my work was local anyway, so I didn't really have to travel that far. But then when I graduated, I never really realized that I could make a career out of it. It just happened that I continued to get more and more work. And then I landed the contract at Express that I talk about in my book, Paid to Be Perfect, The Secret to Finding Your Perfect. And that contract ended up entailing me becoming their in-house fit model. And what a fit model is, it's a model that's specialized. She works in the actual corporate headquarters, or with the design team or with the pattern makers, directly to perfect the fit of a garment. So if you think of like a dress-up doll or like a living live mannequin, just like a mannequin form, but a live mannequin, that would be me. And the reason that they need them is because they can't get feedback from a static form. They can't, the form can't walk and talk and move and tell you if the garment, feels weird or scratchy. And so the fit model is really the one that gives them feedback on the fit of a garment. And then they mass produce, they fit the garment perfectly to me or to the fit model. And then they mass produce that garment, make hundreds of thousands of units based off how that one particular garment fits. It becomes the fit approval. So that's how I started modeling, and that's how my career continued, because a fit model doesn't necessarily have to be, super young, as long as she keeps her body measurements the same, the exact same.
I would
So
expect
I
very strict with the requirements for your body.
100%. So I had to keep my body between plus or minus a quarter of an inch throughout my entire contract. And so when I tell people that, they're like, "Oh my God, did you starve yourself? What did you do? How did you keep your body measurements the exact same throughout your entire career?" And as a matter of fact, it wasn't just in my 20s and 30s. I actually stopped to have my son. I stopped modeling when I was 38. I stopped modeling when I was 38, took a break to become a mom, and then went back when I was 46 at the exact same measurements. And so, the main questions I get are, how have you kept your measurements exactly the same? And so I talk about that in my book, Paid to Be Perfect. And the secret really is, in a nutshell, is, I don't fight against nature. I think that we're all given a beautiful natural size, whatever that size is. And I think the struggle comes from fighting against nature and fighting your natural size. So if I was so honestly, it was luck of the draw that my size was the size that they needed. So I didn't have to starve myself, and I didn't have to do anything crazy to maintain my natural size. And because I became so hyper focused about it when I was younger, with the measurements, I discovered along the way the foods that kept me at my natural size are the same foods that actually made me feel good. So I also tell people that I eat whatever I want, whenever I want, and they're confused about that too. And I'm like, no, the foods that I eat are the foods that make me feel good. And, it's not like a pack of Skittles or Ho-Hos, even though they make you feel good for a second. I'm not talking about foods that naturally taste good. I'm talking about foods that actually make me feel good. So I focus on those foods. Yeah, and it's been pretty effortless to keep my body at the same size. But I talk about all that in my book, and yeah, that's how it's happened.
When one thing that I've seen a lot is people intuitively eating. And I think when you were talking about not fighting nature, is that's basically what you do with your body, right?
100%. Yeah, I eat intuitively. The only trick about that is making sure that your intuitive eating, you're focusing on whole plant foods or whole foods in general, whole healthy foods.
Yeah.
So there's, you can eat intuitively junk food, you know what I mean? But you want to make sure you know what your body requires. So
Mhm.
focusing on whole plant foods, focusing on the foods also that make your mouth water as treats. There's nothing that I eliminate from my diet. Anything that I want to eat, I eat. But I know which foods make me feel good innately.
Mhm.
And so those people that are aware, which I kind of lay out in my book what those foods are, but those people that are aware of what foods make them feel good innately, can eat intuitively. And that's 100% what I believe in and what I advocate for sure.
Is this something that you've always done throughout your life, or did you wake up one day and you were like, "Oh, I feel so good. My skin looks amazing. I haven't been restricting myself. I haven't been overeating. I've been doing not motivation, excuse me, moderation with my food." So is that something that you always had in your life?
No, as a matter of fact, I grew up on, Doritos and, King Nongs and Captain Crunch and all kinds of junk food in my house. We had 6 kids in the family. My mom had a big storeroom and we had all this junk. And I was the youngest of 6. So by the time, I was along, I was like, oh yeah, you can have cereal for dinner. Sure, whatever. It's no problem. So we had all the processed foods and all the stuff in the house, that you shouldn't be eating. And so then when I was about a teenager, I kind of realized I didn't like red meat. I just didn't digest it well. So I just started to slowly pay attention to the things that made me feel good and made me not feel so good. But I wouldn't. It would have been probably my mid-20s when I got my first modeling contract at 26 that I really started to pay attention to it.
Yeah.
Not only because I had to. Well, I did have to because of my contract. But then it became like, wow, this is fantastic. Like these foods make me feel so good, and keep me at my measurements. So because I was, in a position where I had to really focus on it, I think that made me focus on it even more greatly than a random person would. But yeah, it was a combination of, me doing even different yoga exercises. Like I went to Bikram yoga for the first time, back in the day. And I remember I'm like, oh my God, I can't do this. This is really hard. Like, what are the foods that I need to make me be able to do this class? What do I need to drink? How many fluids do I need to drink, to be able to do this class? Because I grew up dancing and I don't want to not be able to do a class I want to do. I'm flexible. I can do yoga. Why can't I get through this class? So there were several things kind of all at the same time that made me really focus on what makes me feel good versus, a pack of potato chips or, some random, pastries or whatever.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, well, are there fit models of different sizes, I guess, like plus size models that are fit models and
Yeah.
everything? And that's
Yeah.
something, I guess, that it really evolved in the industry. So what kind of evolutions in size and also how beauty is done in the industry? I spoke to another model, Kasia, and we are talking also about cleanliness in the products. She was a runway model, and sometimes they would use the same brush like on several different models, which is not very hygienic. So have you seen differences in how things are done now?
Yeah, and I have a story about that too. I was doing a runway show years ago, and there was especially like right before you would run out, they have the same brush, and they're just tapping every face as they go. Now I think about it, I'm like, wow, that makes me so like, and there'd be like a super shiny person right before you, and all those
Mhm.
oils, like they're going like right on your face.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like grossed out even thinking about it, but yeah, that I definitely have those experiences too. Um, yeah. So as far as the different sizes, yeah. So there are plus size fit models. Now they generally have like, so across there's usually stores that you'll go into that you like their clothes, you like the way their clothes fit better than other stores, you know? And so it's not only they have different sizes as far as like size 6 or size 8 or plus size, they have different shapes. So the clothes that you like, that you could, you can walk into a store and be like, okay, that size is going to fit me,
Mhm.
is the store that has a fit model with your shape.
Okay.
So it's not, so they have different sizes and different shapes, which is great. And when I started fit modeling, they had one shape. And then when I went back, they had changed their fit form. The fit form evolved to reflect the shape that their company wanted as a standard. So when I went back, my hips were actually a little too small. My bum was a little too not as rounded as they wanted, you know. So shapes evolve over time. Like shapes go in and out of style, and that's the crazy thing. That's why it's so crazy for all of us people, like, running around trying to look this way or the other way, when it doesn't even matter. There's certain shape, like the Kardashians, used to want to be the curviest girls in the world, and now they're all trying to get
Yeah.
skinny.
Now they're all removing everything, and yeah.
So it's like, just don't pay attention to anybody else. Just pay attention to
Mhm.
your shape. You have the best shape ever for your body. That's the way your body was meant to be, and make that shape, your shape, feel as good as possible, and focus on, the things you can do with your body, because when you focus on that, you're gonna look good because you can do these amazing things with your body, so focus on the foods that give you the fuel to thrive is really yeah, what I believe.
Yeah, I think if you really think about it, like 90s, 2000s, all the ways that women have been looking, I think it's pretty wild that our bodies are trends. Like you have high-waisted jeans, those are in, low-waisted jeans, those are out. And it's the same with our bodies.
Right.
And to me, that is just crazy, you know?
Isn't it? Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. I saw it firsthand, like working in the industry for as long as I had. I've been in the modeling industry for over 30 years. So
Yeah.
yeah, I've seen all the shapes come and go and come back again. So it's yeah. When you see that, from my perspective, where I was as a model, seeing that, it in the way that you wouldn't think, in the opposite way that you would think, it made me more secure about my own shape, because I realized what it is. I realized that it's just my shape. It's my shape that's perfect for me. It's not even though, I talk in my book about the word perfect. I think perfect is a really tricky word, because none of us are absolutely perfect. That's impossible. It's never strive for perfection, because it just
Mhm.
doesn't exist. But to me, the word perfect is also important, because I think we're all innately perfect exactly as we are, and we're all in the right place at the right time, and our shapes are all perfect for us, and our
Yeah.
situations are all perfect for us, and it's for us to find, the perfection in the process of life, of where we are and where we land. So yeah.
Yeah. Especially because when I think of the word perfect, I think of it very culturally and in the societal definition of it, because what's perfect in Brazil, for example, is very different to what's perfect in China. So I think we have our body and we're stuck with it forever. So we might as well make peace with it and love ourselves, because
Right.
you just have to accept yourself at some point.
Blessed with it forever, and this is
Yeah.
something like your age, you're in your mid 20s, I'm 52. This is something that I learned along the way. And we were fed like a specific, very one focus media. You guys are lucky in the sense that, I mean, it's difficult in the sense that you have so many people to keep up now with on social media, but at the same time there are so many people across social media doing so many different things that it's like everything's cool now. Every I follow this I can't even remember the name, but this woman with the best curves. She looks amazing. She's this pole dancer, and she's got like, just so much strength. I'm just like in awe of her. She's like, I can't do half of what she can do. But yeah, her curves are beautiful and just on display. And I don't remember seeing that, when I was your age. So So
Yeah.
it's I think we're going in a good direction. I think we've got a ways
Yeah.
to go. The media force feeds us, stuff that, we should be insecure because they want us to buy their products, right? They're trying to sell us stuff. So we're still getting all that stuff of we need to improve this and fix that, and we're not good enough, and we need to look like this person. But I do think, based on the fact that we get to see so many different perspectives now because of all the information that's out there, that we have access to, I think it's going in a good direction.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
I would agree. And also, I want to get into skincare
Oh.
because you look gorgeous and amazing, and your skin looks beautiful. So, what are some of your secrets to keep yourself so pretty?
Well, you're young, so my main tip for anyone your age is sunscreen, 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 100% sunscreen. I'm half black and I use sunscreen, so even people with darker pigments, I believe in sunscreen. I think that's the biggest thing. I wear hats if I'm gonna be out all day. I'm just really religious about like the sun on my face. That's honestly the biggest thing. And then getting your sleep. I sleep on silk pillowcases because I feel like that's better for my skin. That's one of my main tricks that as far as my inexpensive tricks, those are the main things. And then also, I don't think people, and this is a choice that you make, but I don't think people really need to go so far into like the injectables and the things that are a little bit more invasive until, I think, just protect what you have for as long as you can, and then wait and then investigate those things. I see younger and younger people really getting into that stuff, and I'm just like, but your skin already looks good, just maintain it, and then wait until you get a little older, and if you need a tweak or whatever, then feel free. But for me, I'm into anything that's as least invasive as possible. I use an LED mask. That's another one of my tips that's in my book. I have a whole chapter on skincare in my book. And it really goes through every serum I use,
Mhm.
everything I do. Because I love skincare. It's like,
Yeah.
it's just fun for me. Just using makeup all my life and everything, and just, having makeup artists and just being in the industry for so long with that, it's fun. It's just as fun as fashion. So I love skincare. And I have probably too many things in my skincare chapter that I talk about. It goes on and on and on. But yeah, just anything that, for me, anything that is less invasive. I
Mhm.
believe in retinol, serums, various things like that. Sunscreen, of course.
Yeah.
And I do love my LED mask, which is just like a simple mask. It's light,
I think
just
I've
light.
seen one of those actually in the Sephora website,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
with
I
the white and then red light.
Yep,
And yeah,
yep. Yeah, several times a week. I use that, on occasion, and then I'll take a break from it maybe, and then I'll kind of go back. But that's, and I actually like those jade rollers too. Um,
the like the Washa ones.
yeah, yeah. It feels like a facial massage, and so I've been doing that lately, and I really like that. That's actually not in my book, but that's something that I've kind of grown to appreciate. It just feels good. I'm into anything skincare, food, anything that makes me feel good.
Yeah.
Needles in my face don't really make me feel good. So I did try Botox probably 5 years ago,
Mhm.
but I haven't had any Botox or anything. I'm not saying I'll never do it. It
Mhm.
just doesn't make me feel good. I'm not a big fan of needles, and I just like to gravitate towards things that make me feel good, and I'm not into scary needles. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I think I love sunscreen so much. I have a video actually discussing chemical and mineral and different types of sunscreen that I use, even
yeah,
on my hands. Since I
yeah.
was about 13, 14, I would go to the beach with my mom and I would put sunscreen on her hands, and
Yeah.
just for sunspots and everything, and always taking care of her and myself. And
Well,
I've been
that looks so great, and she does too, because I know you love your mom. She's fantastic.
I love her. And yeah, I hope I look like her, like
I'm sure you will.
keep myself looking good. And I've been using sunscreen every single day since I was 19. And I see people my age and even younger already using Botox. And to me, I don't see why you would do that also. I don't know if it's just the industry trying to get people younger and younger to profit, because those will be patients for life, basically.
I
Right.
think people just kind of jump the gun, and if they have the money, if they don't have the fear, if they want to do it, fine. But I personally don't think it's, looking at your skin, looking at people your age, like, my theory is just wait
Mhm.
until you really feel like you need something. But even me at 52, I don't even feel like I need it yet. I'm still waiting. So, just I feel like anyone that does that at a super young age, I'm sure it's I don't know. There's negative effects with anything you do. So I don't know. I mean, I personally wouldn't advocate it if I had a daughter your age. I personally wouldn't be that thrilled about it. But I'm sure it's fine because a lot of people do it. But at the same time, I err on the side of caution. And there's side effects with anything that's invasive, and it's still invasive. So I think just the younger you are, putting stuff into your body that you don't necessarily need isn't really what I would propose, but everybody to each his own, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think of it also mentally. At in your 20s, you shouldn't be worried about Botox and things like that. I think it's just another pressure that you're putting on yourself. And
Right, right.
I think aging also shouldn't be, I want to look the same my whole life. I look 25 my whole life, you know? I think aging should be graceful, and we
Hmm.
should age because it shows that you're living life, you're experiencing things, and getting to old age is what we all want and we should all strive for. So sometimes people do too much and then they get to a certain age and they just have so much going on and all this pressure to be perfect all the time. And it's just not good psychologically, I don't think.
I totally agree. And I gravitate towards people like your mom, like
Mhm.
myself, and, the people that we don't really try to do that. And I think, it kind of shows. I mean, it just, people that aren't chasing something that isn't within them, it kind of shows, and they look better for it. Is
Mhm.
kind of my theory, but yeah.
And I have another question. What are some products that you use every day makeup wise? Like I cannot live without eyebrow products. My eyebrows are I have some, I have them, but without product, it's just my face doesn't look as lit up. So what are some that you like
I'm
to
100% on the eyebrow pencil as well. I use a little eyebrow pencil every day. I literally can't walk out the house. But, well, actually, sometimes I go to yoga without it. Sometimes I do if I'm running late. But I don't like that. But if I do that, then I have on sunglasses because I wear big sunglasses to hide my eyebrows. But yeah, that and just a tiny bit of like base foundation. I just give it like so I put on my sunscreen every morning. I put on my sunscreen. Um, and I usually don't wash my face twice a day. I'll just give it like a spritz of a toner in the morning, like just to freshen up my face. But I usually wash it at night when I before I go to bed to get everything off of it. Put on all my serums in the morning, and then I'll just do like a toner to give it a fresh feeling and feel awake. And then I'll do my sunscreen. I'll do maybe just a little bit of base if I'm, not going to go to a hot yoga class or run or
yeah.
whatever. And then, my eyebrows and some lip gloss and lip liner. And that's really, and the lip liner I wear is like, it matches like the color of my lips. So it's just really like, I just do a natural face basically every day.
Perfect. Yeah. I think that's the best look. I love doing big, like the other day, the new Barbie movie's coming out with Margot Robbie, and I did a pink look just for myself, at home. I was bored. And I love those looks, but every day I love doing just a natural, now it's called a clean girl look. And
Yeah.
it's just because I still feel like myself. One thing I don't like is doing too much, and then I look in the mirror and I'm like, who is that?
Yeah. It's
You
funny
know?
because, I used to do all that. Like I used to have all these crazy makeups that I would wear from time to time, and blue eyeshadow or whatever. And I remember there was even a blue mascara phase too, like
Yeah,
blue
I
mascara.
remember.
But so now when I put on a ton of makeup, because I have just like for Halloween or just different things, my son just looks at me. He's like, "Ew!" Like he's like, "That doesn't look good." He doesn't like it at all. He just thinks like it's just like it looks like a mask. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So yeah. And I'm like, well, he always tells the truth, so I should listen to him and just go with the clean
to
look.
get an honest opinion at least.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And so what is your favorite skincare brand that you're using right now?
My absolute favorite is something that's really expensive. And I
Mm.
hate to tell people what it is because it's so crazy expensive. I'm sure there's something else that's just as good. I'll tell you what it is, but I didn't mention it in my book because I was like, okay, it's one of my like guilty pleasures. And
Mhm.
I've used this cream since I was about your age, actually, since my mid 20s. And it's called Creme de la Mer. It's insanely expensive. And
It's from
I
the mayor.
Creme de la Mer. Yeah,
Okay.
creme. So CREME,
Mhm.
like DE, and then LAMER. So
Okay.
it's cream of the sea in French. Cream of the sea, I think is what it means. Creme de la Mer. And I've used it since, like I said, my mid 20s. And I've just always, you know, I'm just I just think it's probably, one of the best creams for my skin. I'm sure I could find something else less expensive, but I'm kind of scared too because I know how well this cream
It
works for
works for
me.
you. So white
Right.
sheen is what works. Yeah. I mean,
But
look at you. It might be worth it.
and I use it very sparingly because it's so freaking expensive. And every time I buy it, I'm like, God, that's expensive. It's ridiculous. So I don't tell people that usually. I just usually say, hey, listen, it's um, water, healthy diet, proper sleep, sleep on a silk pillowcase, for a little extra indulgence, wear your sunscreen, use some proper topicals for your skin, because we all have different skin types or whatever, the ones that I list in my book might not be exactly right for your skin. We have all different skin types, different, dry, oily, normal, everything is different. And so yeah, that's one thing that does work for me that, it would be my all-time favorite beauty product.
Perfect. And do you have a final message that you want to leave about your book or just something about beauty that you would like to share?
Well, I think that what's really given me the most peace and what's made me feel good at this age, growing older and changing. I have some grays, and my face is changing. Like things are changing in my body. But what gives me the most feeling of comfort and peace at this age is just doing what feels good. And I think everyone always kind of innately knows what that is for themselves. So I think it's really important. I have an entire book of what my perfect is, of
Mhm.
exactly what it looks like, exactly how I eat, everything that I do for my skin, everything that I do for wellness. I meditate, I do all these things. I have an entire book of exactly what I do to keep myself where I am at this age. But in reading that, it's all about you finding your perfect, what works for you. Everyone needs to really, focus on what feels good within them, within each person, because you know what serves you and you know what doesn't serve you. It's really just tuning in and listening to that. Use me for a guide for sure if you want to. My website is paidtobeperfect.com. My book's available on Amazon and Barnes and Nobles. It's on audiobook as well if you're into that. But yeah, it's really, my book is a guide to help. It's what I would have told myself at your age, what I wish I would have known as I aged, because I feel like the cool thing about getting older is you do have so much more self-confidence, and you just it's just cool. You know what I mean? How you feel versus trying to kind of keep up in your younger years.
Mhm.
So it's what I would have told everybody when I was your age. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your time and sharing everything that you know. It was so nice talking to you.
So nice talking to you too. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And what do you have an Instagram where we can follow you?
Yeah, sure. It's Heather's Book, and all the links are at Heather's Book on Instagram, at Paid to Be Perfect on Facebook and Twitter. But it's all on it's all on paidtobeperfect.com. The links are on there as well.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take
Thank you.
care.